Liverpool have done it. They have just signed one of the best creative players in Europe this season that hasn't even begun to reach his peak. And I know everyone's going to talk about the price tag as well, but you have to talk about the quality of the player that Liverpool are also getting. Florian Wirtz to Liverpool. Here we go from Fabrizio. David Ornstein saying that the final parts of the deal is just being negotiated. However, Fabrizio has reported that it's a 150 million euro package. And I know that number is going to make a lot of people jump out of their seat. That's about 125 million pounds, but I would anticipate that it's probably including the add-ons. So the actual fee, the base fee, if you want to say, is probably going to be in and around 110 at the most, and the rest will probably be add-ons. We've got so much to talk about, so make sure you guys hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well if you are new here. Now, let's talk about the price tag, because that is probably the part that everybody gets caught up in. Now, I'll be honest, if you have just come off the back of winning the title, you have not spent that much in the previous window before that. Last summer, Liverpool didn't spend anything on top of winning the Premier League. Signing a new deal as well, a new sponsorship deal as well for their kit sponsors. They have the finances to do that. We remember not that long ago, a couple of years ago, they made a historic bid for Caicedo, and it didn't end up going through. But Liverpool financially have had that money lying around. Now, in a market where players like Enzo Fernandez went for how much? Nearly 100 and something million as well. Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, Jack Grealish, Declan Rice. If we live in a world where those players are worth 100 million plus, then I wouldn't really bat an eyelid too much at Florian Wirtz going for that price, especially because of the only risk is that he's still relatively young. He's only 22, but that can also be a huge positive for Liverpool because, like I said, he's not even touched near enough to his peak. He's probably entering his peak in a couple of years, which means it gives him a couple of years to embed himself at Liverpool, and then if he manages to enter his peak and flourish, it will be at a clinical time for Liverpool. Financially, I think, the way that we see the market right now, everybody is overinflated. Every transfer fee is overinflated, and maybe it goes back to the days of Manchester United spending 80 million on Maguire and 90 on Pogba and 100 million euros on Anthony, paying ridiculous fees. But nobody batted an eyelid when Jude Bellingham went to Real Madrid for in and around, maybe slightly lower in the 110 million range, but still he went for 100 million. Nobody really batted an eyelid. And I think Florian Wirtz is that type of player. He is an amazing player, an amazing talent, an amazing creative outlet. He reminds me a lot, and maybe it's the German style of football and the German system, but he reminds me of a Mesut Ozil, Thomas Muller when I watch him, in terms of the fact that there's two things that he flourishes in. Number one, it's picking up the ball in possession. That is the most important thing. He's got a simple understanding of the game to pick up possession or find possession and drag a player out. And if he's not able to do that, he's got another simple understanding of the game. Well, let me drag a player out with me to open up space for my teammates. And, when Liverpool are looking at a potential future in the next couple of years, a future that does not include Mohamed Salah, a future that does not include Virgil van Dijk, they are going to have a marquee name in that attack to be able to lead them through. He's such an intelligent player. I'm really curious to see how he works out in this Liverpool team with Mohamed Salah on if he's playing in the 10, Salah on the right. You got Szoboszlai as an option off the bench if he's not going to be starting. You got McAllister and Gravenberch behind you. A very selfless player, and that's a very selfless midfield three if it actually ends up happening. In possession, he's an asset. He can operate in those tight spaces. He can maneuver. He's good at link up. He's good at 1-2 passing, which again, if Liverpool are going to play possession style football where they're able to retain possession, Florian Wirtz is going to be the perfect centerpiece for that. And in a team where you potentially have Kirkes coming through and you got Frimpong coming through, this is why I'm saying that this is what title winning teams do. Look at Manchester City. Manchester City have had their worst season in the Pep era, right? The first time they finished trophyless since the first year of Pep Guardiola. What did they do? They spent nearly 200 million euros in the January window. They've spent more than 100 million so far in the summer transfer window, bringing in Reinders, bringing in Shirky, bringing in Ait Nouri. this is what competitive teams do. They identify issues in their team and they go and address it immediately, and they contend against the top teams for the top players, not for the mid players that you can potentially create a product from him. You buy the players that are already showing you that they are the best in Europe in their respected positions. And I think Florian Wirtz for me is one of those. Depending on how Slot plays with the 4-2-3-1, for me he will be able to increase the output from his team. I mean, Mohamed Salah doesn't need increased output, but he can increase the output from his creative players and also be that connector for the back line or the deeper line and that front line. Now, obviously, there's a big kind of question mark about the number 9 position for Liverpool, and I'm probably sure they will address it in due time. But Florian Wirtz, even at Bayer Leverkusen, he played a key part in that title contending team, back-to-back seasons with double-digit goals and assists in the league for Bayer Leverkusen, and he leaves there probably a Bayer Leverkusen legend, bringing in a record fee for the Premier League, number one, a record fee for a German player. I think it's a record fee for the Bundesliga as well, which is why I'm saying no one batted an eyelid when Real Madrid were spending that money on Jude Bellingham. No one really batted an eyelid, because at that time that was a record. I think that was the record fee as well. He is a great player, and I am so envious. As a Manchester United fan, evidently, guys, I am so envious that there's multiple teams within the Premier League that are identifying areas and addressing it quickly. Like I said, they've brought in Frimpong. They're en route to get Kirkes done. Florian Wirtz, it was never a doubt. But let me be clear in, my thoughts on Wirtz and what I think he will do at Liverpool. There's not many players in this era of football right now who I can say are generational talents. And I think Wirtz is one of them. I really do think Florian Wirtz is one of them. I've had a joy of watching him at Bayer Leverkusen, probably in particular in that title winning season when they won the league. He was a mover for them, and not only that, like I said, it's for even what he does in possession is spoken about a lot, because he is that creative player. And like I said, the Germans have this thing of developing creative players that do things so effortlessly, like Muller, like Ozil, and probably Wirtz is the next one up for them. But it's also what he does out of possession, and I think maybe Liverpool will benefit from that a lot. Now, the biggest question mark, and I've seen this conversation flying around everywhere, is about the fee. As a Man United fan, whenever Man United buy players, it's always that price tag is on their head. But I promise you guys, if the team is winning and they're winning respectfully and they're winning competitively, nobody's going to ever mention the price tag. Look at Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish's price tag has only really started to become a topic of conversation in the last season or two, when he started a huge decline and has become a hindrance to Man City, and you've realised that he's not really playing anymore, and they've gone out and brought, Jeremy Doku, they brought Savinho, etc. That is when people start to talk about your price tag. No one talks about Declan Rice's price tag. In the season that just passed, Caicedo was one of the best midfielders in England. No one really spoke about his price tag. Enzo Fernandez I still don't think he's worth that price tag that Chelsea paid for, but not many people are speaking about his price tag as much as they were when they first brought it in. When you're performing well and you're performing competitively, no one is going to care about what you paid for that player. And I think that's going to be the case with Florian Wirtz. Liverpool are creating a team of competitiveness, of maybe domination in England. I'm scared to even say that word, but also they're preparing a team for life after Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk. There's still some little moving parts. I've seen reports about Darwin Núñez's future. I've seen reports about Luis Diaz's future as well. But they're bringing in moving pieces in their team that will increase their ceiling that is already quite high. They're coming off of the back of winning a Premier League, and like I said, you have the luxury of spending 100 million plus on a player when you win the league. You can do that stuff, because when City were doing it, no one really batted an eyelid. I hate to see it. I hate to see City moving so actively in the transfer window. I hate to see Liverpool moving so actively, but I never envisioned, guys, honestly, I never envisioned that last summer. I never thought 12 months later we would see Ryan Cherki and Florian Wirtz both in the Premier League. I never thought that would happen. And I know a lot of people are talking about, Ryan Cherki being the better player than Florian Wirtz, despite the fact that he costs nearly 3 times less than what Liverpool are playing. They are two great talents. two amazing talents. I think Florian Wirtz for me is a generational talent. Ryan Cherki is one of my favorite players to watch in Europe over the last couple of seasons, and it's going to be very interesting to see them both in the Premier League. But in terms of this price tag that they are paying, no one's going to talk about it if Liverpool continue to win. If Liverpool go on next season and get to the semis of the Champions League and they win the league, no one's going to talk about the price tag that they spent on Florian Wirtz, because it would have been every penny well spent. But that's what you have the luxury of doing. Liverpool have just bagged themselves one of the best creative players, and I'm scared. I mean, we're not even competing with them anyways, but I'm still scared.